Fala galera, faça para começando mais um vídeo pra vocês aqui no meu canal. Vocês passaram o vídeo de hoje. Mano, o negócio é paranormal hoje. E, cara, é uma coisa assim meio que, mano, muito estranha. Tipo, uma coisa paranormal sobre a nossa história. E assim, além disso, tem alguns vídeos um pouco meio que perturbadores que eu vou contar pra vocês, tá? Mas para muitos que não sabem, no vídeo de hoje é 5 investigadores paranormais mais notáveis da história. E vocês vão entender sobre esses homens aí, a gente vai entender juntos. Então vamos lá, antes de começar o vídeo, vai deixar o seu like, se inscreva-se no canal. Quem tá chegando agora no canal não é inscrito ainda e é novo, se inscreva-se embaixo, detalhes novo inscrito aqui no canal. Vamos rumo a 900 inscritos, vamos rumo nessa meta com força, mais rápido possível. Conto vocês, sem mais delongas, bora pro vídeo. E mano, vamos entender como é que vai ser essas coisas aí, né? Eu não posso nem falar porque, sabe, sempre tem coisas que, né, acontece de ruim que a gente ainda fica meio que em dúvida. Será que é real? Será que não é? Mas não é o contrário de tudo, tá? Vamos lá. Existem pessoas que são apaixonadas por mistérios, coisas que são desconhecidas, espíritos e coisas misteriosas. Muitos investigadores se munem de lanternas, blocos de notas, lupas e outros itens usados por detetives e saem por aí atrás de coisas estranhas e mistérios inexplicáveis com seus aparatos tecnológicos, né? E alguns textos religiosos, eles mencionam que o sobrenatural existe em tempos que acontecem à humanidade e as mais histórias sociedades humanas. E o sobrenatural já foi e continua sendo um assunto de muitas matérias. E uma delas que foi solicitada, né, alguns incríveis que eu vou contar para vocês. E no final do século XIX, muitas pessoas começaram a especular sobre o mundo obscuro, poderia ser objeto de estudo e verificação como o mundo racional da vida cotidiana, e vários grupos de pesquisadores começaram a tornar essa prática real e começaram a aplicar ciência ou análises textuais em coisas como clarividências, histórias de fantasmas e coisas do gênero. Cara, como se fala esse nome? Charlatães e pesquisadores sérios, todos ajudaram a contribuir com a pesquisa e atividade paranormal pelo mundo. E eu separei para vocês isso daqui e a gente vai entender agora nesse momento. Então, vamos lá. O primeiro investigador da nossa lista é Joseph H. Buckheim. Esse homem, tem um vídeo dele, mas eu vou deixar aqui no topo da descrição para vocês o link de cada, né, homem que eu estou dizendo para vocês, tá? Então vamos lá. Ele deixou um legado tão forte que acabou sendo homenageado com um laboratório de parapsicologia de uma instituição acadêmica nos Estados Unidos, o Centro de Pesquisas Heine. Ele mostrou potencial na área da parapsicologia. Ele pesquisou as comunicações mediúnas e comprovou a existência das capacidades extrasensoriais dos seres humanos. Ele publicou em 1934 a obra em primeira edição, Percepção Extrasensorial Heine. E ele dedicou à investigação dos fenômenos de psicocinésia. E ele contemplava a comunicação com os mortos e buscava demonstrar que uma pessoa poderia ter influências no resultado de dados lançados usando apenas recursos psíquicos e como a própria mão, né? E temos mais tarde ele fez com dados jogados por meio de um copo e por último com uma espécie de máquina de lançamento de dados sem a possibilidade de interferência humana. Que o homem é estranho, né? Mas vamos lá. O segundo homem da nossa lista é Peter Orcas. Esse investigador, basicamente, clara, mas vamos lá para vocês entenderem. O Peter Urkos foi considerado um investigador paranormal que se tornou muito famoso depois de exibir seus poderes ao vivo na televisão. Ele alega que ganhou esse dom depois de cair de uma escada e passar por uma lesão cerebral traumática por volta dos anos de 1941. E ele começou a trabalhar como vidente em vários departamentos de polícia. Ele alegava que conseguia nomear assassinos ou encontrar vítimas por meio de suas habilidades. Que os policiais também ficavam meio que assim, meio desconfiado dele. Mas vamos lá. O terceiro homem da nossa lista é Sir William Crookes. Esse investigador basicamente cara, tudo de boa, né? Vamos lá. Ele ficou conhecido por realizar várias invenções. Uma delas foi uma espécie de tipo antigo de tubo de vácuo, o revolucionário tubo de Crookes. O Crookes era um espiritualista que aplicou sua sabedoria em química e ciência física no campo de estudo de fantasma e outros fenômenos. E ele foi um dos primeiros pesquisadores a investigar o que conhecemos como plasmas. É uma coisa meio que estranha demais. Então, vamos lá. O quarto penúltimo investigador da nossa lista é Harry Price. Esse Harry, ele, mano, pra vocês terem ideia, ele fez até um vídeo, né? Pra isso, gravaram ele. Então, fiquem aí com o vídeo que eu separei pra vocês.
What is psychical research? A popular opinion says that it means going to seances, holding hands in the dark, singing hymns, and perhaps getting in touch with your dead relatives. But in this, popular opinion is only partly correct, because it is confusing a psychical research with a spiritualism. A psychical research is a science, and is rapidly becoming an exact science. Its object is to ascertain by exact experimental methods how far the alleged phenomena of the seance room can be brought into line with normality. These phenomena, which are produced by people who claim abnormal powers and who call themselves mediums, can be divided into physical and mental. The mental includes clairvoyance, psychometry, the direct voice which spirits are supposed to produce at seances, and similar manifestations. The physical phenomena includes telekinesis, or the abnormal movement of objects without physical contact, the poltergeist phenomena you read about in connection with haunted houses, and similar manifestations. There is an idea that the study of alleged abnormal phenomena is quite modern, but that is not the case. People have been interested in psychic phenomena from the very earliest times, and even the literature of the subject is very old. In our research library of some 12,000 volumes, we have books going back right to the 16th century. I'll show you one of them. For instance, here is one here written by Louis Levata. It is called Of Ghosts and Spirits Walking by Night, and this must be the very first book printed in English which deals with survival as we know it today. I'll show you another one. Here is one written by Oliver Goldsmith and deals with the famous Cock Lane ghost. The extraordinary part of this book is that it describes a seance in a girl's bedroom exactly as if it might have been written yesterday. But modern research proceeds on vastly different lines to what it did in the 16th century. We now require a fully equipped laboratory, which I'll show you. If a man comes to us and says that he can produce abnormal phenomena, then we test him by instrumental means. We have a number of special instruments for this purpose, including a dictaphone, a cinematograph projector and cameras, X-ray apparatus, infrared, ultraviolet, and many others, such as microscopes, etc. Now here are some very ingenious slates which I have taken out of our museum of such objects. Now these slates are very ingenious. Here you see a pair of simple slates, but not quite so simple. And when I tell you I gave £8 for them, you will know that there is a reason for the cost. A touch of a spring and you notice that they are covered with writing and a drawing of an alleged spirit. Here is another exhibit from our museum. Apparently it is a very well-made mahogany box, which I will proceed to lock. Now that, to all intents and purposes, is locked fast. But by touching a screw here, one can open the box, whether it is locked or not. This is the kind of thing that some fraudulent mediums use, although not, of course, under any scientific control. I will now show you the very ingenious mechanism of this box in detail. And you will see that the staple has been caught in the lock. Of course, the staple has come from the lid. When I close the box again and replace this pin, you'll notice the box is again locked. I will now unlock it, and of course the staple is back in the lid again, although it would defy anyone to find where a mechanism was hidden. We get some extraordinary investigations to do, but I think the most extraordinary was the opening of Joanna Southcott's famous box. This box was opened at the Church House, Westminster in 1927, and a wave of excitement passed through the audience as I cut the steel bag. The box contained the most extraordinary collection of objects. Here is a wire puzzle, a very ancient puzzle. Joanna Southcott's nightcap, very curious. A dice box, but what Joanna wanted with a dice box I can't say. A lottery ticket, number 382 for 1814. I'm afraid it didn't win anything. A horse pistol. An ancient purse full of really very valuable coins. This is the most interesting exhibit. Books, several books as a matter of fact, and a piece of paper printed on the Thames, February the 3rd, 1814. Well, I have shown you the very curious contents of that box, but I'm afraid that there was nothing in it which Joanna Southcott said would save the nation in a time of emergency. Well, you have seen our laboratory, and we are now back in the library, which is also our science room, where all our tests are held. I will now show you our latest piece of apparatus. Here is a box like a sentry box, which was made to test an alleged clairvoyant or thought reader. This man stated that he could find hidden objects in a room. So we had our suspicions that he found these objects by watching the audience or by getting indicia from the movements of the audience. So we had this box made so that we could cover up portions of a person's anatomy a part at a time. For instance, that's panel number 1. We found that our theory was correct, because when the person who knew where the object was entirely hidden in this box, the clairvoyant failed. He could not find the hidden object. Now here is a totally different piece of apparatus. If a man comes to us and says that he can make objects move without physical contact, we try this table on him. This table is in 2 portions. It's really a cage within a cage, and the center portion rises. We hoped it would rise by psychic power, but unfortunately we have never got it to rise by those means yet. But this is a fraud-proof table. Inside the table are various musical toys, like a toy piano and the panpipes, etc. The 8 panels in this table can only be moved by opening this flap and putting one's hand down into the table. Therefore, if we get any of these musical toys being worked upon while we are sitting round the table, and the flap is closed, then we know that the noises have been caused, or rather the movements have been caused by abnormal means, and we proceed further with our investigations. So you see that psychical research means a good deal of knowledge about many things, but we are progressing. Not only are we progressing, but orthodox science is taking a very keen interest in the subject, and already many universities in various parts of the world, as for instance at Leiden in Holland, Duke University in America, Johns Hopkins University in America, and more recently a group connected with the University of London has been formed, and it is hoped that some information will be derived from our experiments. In conclusion, I do earnestly hope and trust that any of you who come across cases of hauntings, poltergeists, unusual happenings of any sort will communicate with me, care of the Movito News.
Como vocês viram aí, galera, mano, ele fez até um vídeo também, né, pra, tipo, explicar tudo que acontecia, né. Então, vamos lá pra gente entender um pouco sobre ele. O Harry Percy foi considerado um caçador de fantasma extraordinário e que tinha um jeito atípico, pois construiu sua carreira fora expondo médiuns espiritualistas e médiuns falsos. Segundo a sua biografia, ele teve sua primeira experiência fantasma quando ele e um amigo se hospedaram em uma mansão com um caráter aparentemente assombrado, né? Que parecia ser assombrado, mas meio que em dúvida de saber, tá? Vamos lá! O quinto e último investigador da nossa lista é Montague Summers. Esse homem, ele, mano, explicou também em algum vídeo sobre, tipo, algumas coisas sobre fantasmas, e vocês vão ver agora.
The Reverend Alphonsus Joseph Mary Augustus Montague Summers, commonly known as Montague Summers, was a British eccentric whose life is filled with mystery and speculation. Born on April 10, 1880, in Clifton, near Bristol, England, the now obscure deacon is best remembered for his more than 50 works published on Restoration-era theatre and all areas of the occult, including vampires, werewolves, witchcraft, including black magic, and demonology. From an early age he was an avid reader, rewarded from time to time by his father in being allowed to read books kept in a locked shelf. He amused himself with his brothers and sisters in playing with a miniature stage. On his mother's side, there appear to be symptoms of mental illness, a possible cause of Summers' eccentricity. Summers' behavior was said to have changed after attending Oxford, upon which he became rather reclusive and burned incense in his room. Behavior for which he did not altogether escape the attentions of the Philistines. Joseph Jerome, author of Montague Summers, a memoir, conjectured upon reading a certain passage from the Gallantry show that Summers' older brother brought out a certain lasciviousness in Summers by bringing attention to certain sexual connotations in plays which they enjoyed together. In Summers' first book, Antonius and Other Poems, published in 1907, there is definitely an erotic flair in Summers' work. To quote some lines of Obodas found in Jerome's biography on Summers, and described as a hymn to Eros, reads as follows: "We worship love, adore him, low in the dust before him, we bow down and implore him, give thanks for our sweet shame. For I had ate life's kernel, love that is bliss eternal, dower of a god supernal, and sin is but a name." A Gallantry show is a shadow play, a shadow puppet play. The title is very appropriate for Summers' personality, as in many cases he appeared to be as in many cases he appeared to be pretending to be someone else, more specifically a priest, while in actuality, he was highly interested in the occult, the erotic, etc. In a way, he can be said to have lived behind the shadow of holiness, while his true agenda lay elsewhere, a sort of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, a divided personality. It can be said it is hard to discern where Summers' trickery ended and his real character traits began. Luckily from his love of the theater, Summers was good at putting on an act. He could assume a diabolical nature at times, while many of his acquaintances described him as a very pious individual. Also, Summers had a naturally high-pitched voice, and sometimes deliberately employed the use of a lisp either to annoy his father in his younger years or simply as an add-on to his act. Summers also liked experimenting with fictitious names added to his real one, using Jerome as a middle name and his letters included in notes and queries. In 1908, Summers was ordained a deacon in the Anglican Church to his curacy in Bath by a certain Dr. Forrest Brown, deemed highly eccentric by Jerome. As an Anglican clergyman, Summers was accused of engaging in homosexual practices with another clergyman but was later acquitted. Summers moreover is a bit of an enigma in the aspect that he was never recorded to have married or been in any relationship whatsoever, despite his obvious interest in the erotic. It will be shown later that rumors of his homosexuality were possibly truthful. In 1909, Summers converted to Catholicism, possibly from his doubting the validity of the Anglican Eucharist, and starting in 1913, claimed to be an ordained priest, a matter of controversy among historians as well as his contemporaries. Father Herbert Thurston is said to have once even challenged Summers to reveal his holy orders, however the outcome remains lost to time. Summers is said to have claimed he was made priest in Italy, a daring claim, if untrue. Though it is still possible that some old record of his ordination exists, the closest church record found that can validate his ascension into the Catholic Church is his receiving the clerical tonsure from the Bishop of Southwark in 1910. The reception of clerical tonsure is an act within the Catholic Church in which a lock of hair is cut off of the receiver while the choir sings, making one a cleric of a church, a minor position which is neither that of a deacon, priest, or bishop. Summers moved frequently, and said mass wherever he went. Moreover, he always had his own unauthorized oratory for his priestly ways. Summers, though now Catholic, still had his name in Crockford's Clerical Directory, an Anglican clerical directory. It appears Summers possibly tried to still appear an Anglican priest to the British government, as it protected him from military service and jury duty. Moving frequently likely facilitated his assumption of authority into opposing denominations of Christianity. It seems plausible from reading the memoir of Montague Summers that he used his supposed ordination to devote his life to learning and studying. One fact which conflicts with his claims to Catholic priesthood is that he supplemented his allowance from his father by teaching at times. It was rumored he was a member of the Hieronymites, a monastic order living according to the rules of St. Augustine and St. Jerome. In the 1930s, Summers led an oratory for the Honorable Mrs. Greville Nugent, deemed an eccentric old lady of strong Jacobite views, until the group was broken up by Dr. Amico, Bishop of Southwark. One aspect of Summers' eccentricity is that, despite being a supposed clergyman, he had a strong obsession with every matter of the occult, taking the stance that the occult posed a threat to the spiritual health and safety of civilized society. Indeed, to quote Summers at the end of his book Witchcraft in Black Magic.
Bom, como vocês viram aí, mano, uma coisa meio que assustadora esse vídeo aí, né? Mas vamos lá pra gente encerrar com esse vídeo de hoje. Montague Summer nasceu no final do século XIX e foi um caçador medieval de bruxas e vampirologista. Ele se dedicou a registrar forças das trevas do mundo ocidental. Ele era polêmico por conta do seu interesse por assuntos como ocultismo, sobrenatural, pederastia e satanismo. Publicou obras como Magia Negra, o Lobisomem em Lowry, Bruxaria, Lowry e Landes e o vampiro. E seus amigos e parentes, apesar de ter sido muito criticado pela imprensa da época, Summer e suas publicações ajudaram bastante, dando credibilidade à ideia de que lendas populares, que temas paranormais eram dignos de estudos acadêmicos. Cara, te falar, muita gente, cara, sofreu muito nessas épocas, tá? Só pra vocês terem ideia. Não é brincadeira, tipo, você pensa que é uma coisa meio que, é muito chato isso, mas você vê que naquela época muita gente sofreu e, tipo, não sofreu, mas como os caras trabalhavam muito, eles ralavam muito, tipo, né, só pra eles serem alguma pessoa na vida, e acabou sendo, né, mas basicamente é isso. Então, vou deixando o vídeo por aqui. Se você gostou desse vídeo, deixa o seu like, se inscreva-se no canal, quem tá chegando agora no canal não é inscrito ainda e é novo, se inscreva-se abaixo e traz um novo inscrito aqui pro canal. Vamos rumo a 900 inscritos, vamos rumo nessa meta com força, mais rápido possível. Conto com vocês, e é nóis, valeu, até o próximo vídeo, galera, foi!